All right, welcome back to another episode of Sunday Morning Quarterbacks. I'm your host, Sosa Picks. I'm back with my guy, Spin Doc Sports and DMAC Wakefield. We're back week 11. Home stretch is coming up, guys. How we feeling? How we feeling after week 10? We locked in still, or we engaged now? We got some great games that we thought would suck.
Yeah, man. We had an excellent slate last week. Probably the most exciting slate that we've had this entire season because of all the late field goals. I think it was the 5 games decided, six decided with the field goal. Yeah, it was a surprisingly fun window to say the least. But yeah, locked in, man. Look,
it was 5. Remember Monday night? Monday night went.
Yeah, Monday night. Yeah,
Monday night was the 6th one. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Because the Bills decided to have 12 men on the field. Yep, that happened. But yeah, no, great slate. And look, Thanksgiving's around the corner. In my opinion, real football has now, commenced. This is the time in which teams have put in their adjustments, done some self-scouting, figured out what works, what doesn't, and now teams are gearing up for making that final push to get into the playoffs, man. So yeah, I'm locked in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, same here. Teams, the pack's starting to separate, and we start to see which teams are going to make a run and which teams just aren't there. The team up in Buffalo, unfortunately, looks like being one of them. It's probably was necessary that they fired Dorsey, but I even said too, I said, well, what if Dorsey was only like 1/3 or 1/4 of the problem? Like, does that really make things like really that much better? Like, because I got a few other problems with that team, and they ain't Ken Dorsey.
I think you're absolutely right in regards to the situation going on in Buffalo. I mean, maybe he was 1/3, 1/4 of the problem. Maybe their weapons aren't as good as people think. Maybe Dawson Knox getting hurt made them have to change the way they run some offense. Maybe you do fire him for sitting James Cook for a little bit. But man, I never seen an offensive coordinator that could prevent that throw that Josh Allen made right before the half ended. I don't know an offensive coordinator in the motherfucking world that could have done anything about that, man. Or some of the picks that he's thrown this year, last year, the year before that, the year before that. But who's counting? It's a rough situation. They're 5-5. I want to blame Josh Allen, but the fantasy scores say it's pretty damn good. So I can't argue with that.
Well,
the numbers apparently don't lie.
Well, and my point is that maybe he does have that elite potential. I mean, I think he showed it in the playoffs last year. But look, during the regular season, when the stakes aren't quote unquote high, and it's just, even on a game against on Monday night, is that Josh Allen has times where he's not even a good fantasy quarterback. Where to me it almost seems like he's not as interested. It almost seems like he's not as interested unless it's like a huge game, a huge moment, try to make a huge throw. He's gambling way too much, even more than usual. I don't know. I am waffling on, is Josh Allen the guy to potentially bring a Super Bowl to Buffalo? I'm not sure. I'm really not.
He better be. They're building a new stadium.
I'm just saying. I don't know. I've seen this movie before with him over the last 2 seasons, and last year you can say, okay, yeah, he was hurt, and there was a distinct difference between his stats pre and post injury. There's a difference between Diggs's stats, between a couple other guys' stats. But what's the excuse this year? I mean, if they don't come out and perform offensively this weekend, like what else do you do? I mean, do you just clean house and start over with a new coaching staff? I don't know.
It's a little bit funny to me, the ways in which you guys talk about the history with Josh Allen, what we've seen from him over the regular season of the last few years. And obviously everybody kind of wanted to put him into the Patrick Mahomes discussion. And this year, once they lost Milano and those defensive pieces, I was like, okay, well, they're not going to be able to contend for a title. They simply do not have the horses on that side of the ball. But they're asking Josh Allen to carry the team in a sense. And obviously not having a top ranked defense is something that he hasn't necessarily had to do. And we are seeing the results of how he is playing and how that can be detrimental at times, even though that I do think that he's still, a great quarterback. But it's different when you have to consistently carry the team with a bad defense. And that's something that I've harped on over the past few years as far as a separator from Mahomes and a lot of these guys that have had good defenses. Obviously, it's flipped the script as far as this year is concerned, but it's a difficult proposition, and Josh Allen is struggling, as are the Bills. But because of some things that we saw Thursday night, you can't say that they're completely dead and buried, though. Obviously, the AFC North has suffered significant injuries. 2 quarterbacks are now down. The AFC playoff picture is something that has widened a little bit for some teams that are in that 4 to 5 win range to possibly sneak their way in. So we will see if any of those guys can get hot and get on a run to try and make it happen.
Well, okay, just one last question about that. How far do the Bills have to go in the postseason for Sean McDermott's job to be 100% safe? How far?
Las Vegas on Sunday at 6:28 p.m.
I mean, that depends. Do they think that they can find a better coach out there?
Mm-hmm.
You know what the problem is? Let me tell you how this is going to play out. Okay? They're going to blame Sean McDermott like he can control Matt Milano and Trey White fucking falling to the wayside and getting hurt.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to blame McDermott, and they're going to make a play for Ben Johnson. They're going to say that they need an offensive mind to lead the charge, and that's how this will play out. I mean, I think it's pretty clear. McDermott, I don't want to say he's getting scapegoated, but he kind of is. He can't control injury. He can't control his quarterback being a bonehead. These are simply situations that this is simply the part of the situation, and it's part of the gig. Like, you got to win, you got to put out there something, right? The only thing that would save them is what you said. Historically, they've never won shit. So like you said, it's like you gauge it. How much closer do we get to winning a title if we change the coaching staff? And also, like I said, new stadium. It's a lot of moving parts attached to this. You got to have a product to sell these fans that you just sold a brand new stadium to. Mm-hmm. Can't do what Derek Jeter did to the Miami Marlins fans now. Like, that ain't gonna work. This is not Miami. This is Buffalo. They don't got very much else.
Yeah, the shiny new offensive head coach, Slowick or Ben Johnson, like you said, one of these guys that is hot coordinators. We'll see. We'll see if that'll be the route that they take.
Absolutely. Glad we got some conversation about the Bills in. Way too long, if you ask me. But we're here. Let's get into this week's slate. We got the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Cleveland to take on the Browns. The Browns coming off an amazing win last week. Deshaun Watson went 14 for 14 in the second half, put on a master class down the stretch to defeat the Baltimore Ravens. However, it seems like that was retribution because he is now done for the year. Fractured shoulder, defense still phenomenal. Myles Garrett still phenomenal. They're still going to be able to generate plays, turnovers on that side of the ball. They're looking to go with DTR. On the other side, you got Pittsburgh outgained in every game this year, sitting at 6-3. Mike Tomlin continues to get away with it. We don't know his formula. No one seems to know how to figure it out. I don't know if it's Michael Jordan basketball, where it's keep it close at the end and let your superstar win it, because they don't really have any superstars on the offensive side of the ball. They don't trust Kenny Pickett, but somehow still continue to find ways to win the ball games. I'm not betting shit in this game. The over-under's at 32.5. That tells me everything I need to know. It's going to be pretty damn unwatchable. So, Spin, D-Mac, I'll let y'all take this away. I don't think we'll be spending too much time on this one.
Not much time at all. Even though the under is at the number that it's at, that's almost probably where you have to look. Or you can just pass. That's obviously an option too. Yeah, for the game itself, Browns opened at -4.5. Now it's at -1.5. The 3-point difference obviously being Watson. Right now, 72% of the bets, 81% of the money are on the Steelers, but that was at the old number of 4.5. People anticipating Watson would be out. Now it's moved to 2. Every line for this game is just in this no man's land that I don't really want a piece of. For fantasy purposes, you can start Dustin Hopkins. Actually, Dustin Hopkins has been a real nice kicker pickup. And at this time of the year, when you're fighting for playoff spots, those little things can matter. So if you're looking for a kicker matchup, Dustin Hopkins would be a nice one if he's not already taken in your league. If you have him, start him. The Browns D, of course. And then after that, the only other one that I would probably look at would be Najee Harris. And he actually, from a fantasy perspective, has been very usable lately. Harris, now granted, the Browns are the 4th ranked defense against running backs for fantasy, but Harris has multiple touchdowns over his last few games, averaging well over 4 yards per carry. The offensive line difference isn't that huge between their offensive line and Cleveland's defensive line. So I think you can use Najee as a running back 2 or a flex play. Other than that, I don't know. Amari Cooper, maybe. I'm struggling to find a lot of guys to use, and I'll move on.
Yeah, look, if I was in fantasy, I'm sitting everybody in this game. To be honest with you, I want no parts of really anybody. Quarterbacks, no. Wide receivers, no. Even though I've had Cooper on a few teams, I've been able to throw him out there. If you're desperate, I understand it, but like, I want no parts of anybody. Najee and Jaylen Warren have been useful at times. I think that there are still opportunities in which they can try to find an ability to find some holes. I mean, the Browns have been amazing against the pass, and they've only been great against the run. So, like, hopefully you could try and find maybe some screens to Jaylen Warren here and there. But ultimately, I think this is it. The reason that the over-under is 32.5 is there's not going to be a lot of points scored. The only thing that I will say is that last time PJ or Dorian Thompson-Robinson scored, the Browns defense actually gave up a fair amount of points. And the reason was because he kept turning the ball over and putting them in bad positions. If that repeats, then, we'll see some Steelers scoring. But outside of that, I would not be expecting a high flying affair. And look, I mean, the Browns are, the Steelers are probably going to come out of here with another win. That's not going to look pretty, but they're just going to keep stacking them because the Browns don't have a quarterback.
Absolutely. And the real reason I wanted to actually go with this game is to play this video clip. All right, moving on to the next Bears game. The next game, it's the Bears traveling to Detroit. Justin Fields going to give it a go in this one. Got the Lions laying 7.5 points. You talk about the darlings of the NFL right now. Offense is humming. Most offenses hum against the Chargers unless it's Zach Wilson on the other side. So I like this Lions team. Obviously, everybody's been high on them. A lot of us picked them to win the division. We believe some people believed in Jordan Love. Thank God I did not. But yeah, in regards to this game, Justin Fields being back, I think, is a wild card here. Detroit struggles to handle. They struggle to handle mobile quarterbacks. They've been a detriment. They've been a pain in their side since Dan Campbell's been the coach. They simply struggle against mobile quarterbacks. I think that it's a great matchup for Justin Fields. Would probably bet his rushing yards. I also like. DJ Moore as well. I think both matchups are very, very advantageous for both parties involved. Not sure who's going to be the bell cow in the backfield for the running game. Khalil Herbert returns this week for the Chicago Bears. So it's going to be interesting with that. Obviously on the Lions side, we expect them to put up points. I think it's a very nice spot for Sam Laporta. I know Spin's probably already thinking about him in regards to this one. You can't go wrong with Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's a target machine. And then Jared Goff has just played very well. The game's at home, indoors, no fear of cold weather or any of the elements being an issue. I not only like the Bears to cover, I like the game to go over, and I like the game to go over relatively easily. So the over and probably Justin Fields rushing yards are my two favorite plays in this one. We'll go to Spin, and then we'll get to DMAC, and we'll go around the horn right here. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Yeah, no, it's his first game back with a thumb injury, but he has practiced fully all week. And so what that tells me is that he probably could have come back last week, but they held him out to be safe. And they also wanted to start him at home in this spot in a division matchup. Most indications are Fields is fully healthy. And So I see why you like his rushing prop, because the last 2 games against the Lions, he has rushed for 279 yards. A quarterback has run for 279 yards in 2 games against the same team. The same team, averaging 12 yards per carry. That's absurd.
They're gonna call it square, though. They're gonna call it square.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Over 135 rushing yards for a quarterback, right? I don't know if he'll get that many, but look, let's think back. For week 6, prior to the thumb injury, in full starts, Fields did have back-to-back games of 35 plus fantasy points. The Bears are obviously a dog here, as they should be. That should lead to a lot more passing opportunities, a lot more opportunities to go back into shotgun and potentially get some rushing yards. Don't be too dissuaded by the fact that it's his first game back, because they waited until he could practice a full week, which also means he got full first team reps. He's fully ingrained with the game plan. That's what happens when you have a quarterback that's able to practice fully versus one that's limited in a game time decision, is that they're not going through, they might go through film and they might go through walkthrough, but they're not going through everything live on the field. So Fields did all that. So I think that Fields can be used. I would agree with you, Sosa. I'm not a huge fan of many of the rushing game pieces, although I think if he stays healthy, Khalil Herbert was having a nice little run there before he got hurt. D'Onta Foreman has carried the load pretty well, so don't know there. But for the Lions, yeah, I mean, if all the guys that you're normally going to start, you're starting tomorrow. You're starting St. Brown. You're starting Laporta. You're starting Goff if he's your number 1 quarterback and you don't have a better option, or you have a bye week or whatever the case might be. This is a potential ceiling game for a lot of those guys. And it would not be surprising to see this game like in the 31-28 range or 32-27, somewhere in that range. So obviously, because I'm saying that, Bears to cover would be, to me, is decent value. But yeah, these division games, when both teams are at even reasonably close to full strength, I mean, the last time that Fields played the Lions at home was in November of 2022, lost 31-30, and that was when he had 147 rushing yards. So there's good history there too. I just think that when you have your stud coming back for a home game, that's probably where you want to look.
Yeah, and look, I am happy that we're going to get Fields back.
The game's. I thought the game's at Detroit.
It's at Detroit. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. You're right.
Yeah. I'm happy that we're getting Fields back. I just like to see Justin Fields actually healthy out there. It makes fantasy a little bit easier. DJ Moore is an actual viable candidate to be put into lineups at this current moment of time with him out there. So that's nice. There are opportunities necessary to get after this Lions defense. I mean, they're a little bit lesser as far as success rate, middle of the pack, as far as EPA per play allowed. They're, again, middle of the pack versus the rush, middle of the pack versus the pass. We've obviously seen Justin Fields have good rushing games, as you talked about, Sosa, in the past as well. I expect that to continue as well. On the flip side, like you said, start all your normal Lions players. Generally speaking, the Bears have actually been pretty good against the run and awful versus the pass. I think that's a little bit of a game script and what teams, if you're not going to have to run because they don't defend the pass well, ultimately speaking. So good Laporta game, good Amon-Ra St. Brown game, something to look out for. And if you want to have, a deep league dart that you want to throw, or if you're in DFS as well, if you have a value play, Jameson Williams, they talked about over the last few weeks about he has the block to earn targets. He actually did that in the Lions' last game. Maybe they find a little bit more of a scheme advantage to try and get him open down the field, and he has a good day. Something to look out for him moving forward to see if he can really get implemented in this offense. We haven't seen him fully get integrated and used to his maximum effectiveness. We'll see if that continues to happen for the Lions. I think this has a sneaky little bit of a good game potential. I think ultimately the Lions do win, but I think that the Bears will make it entertaining, to say the least.
Yes, sir. We're all on the same page here. I love to see it. Let's move on to an AFC tilt. We got the Las Vegas Raiders free of the shackles of Josh McDaniels, led by Antonio Pierce, the rigid now appointed leader of the Las Vegas Raiders, straight out of Compton. He made it clear to let us know that. They've looked better. The players have responded to just a change in energy, as you can see. See a lot more smiling. See a lot of players look like they're motivated to go play for their new coach. Let's be honest. Josh McDaniels should have never been a head coach again. We saw what he did in Denver, and he did exactly the exact same thing in Las Vegas. If he's ever appointed as a head coach again in the NFL, that's white privilege. I'm sorry. Only explanation. Sorry, I'm sorry. I'll be remiss to say it. There's no other reason for him to ever be a head coach again.
Or the GM that signed him like dropped a bunch of acid the night before or something like that. I don't know who in their right mind would ever give this guy an NFL head coaching job again, ever.
It's unbelievable. We got the Miami Dolphins laying 13.5 at home, coming off a bye. Devin Achane looking to return to the lineup. Everybody's healthy as far as the offense goes. There's nobody on the injury report for them. Like I said, the Raiders have looked better. They're at a plus 610 on the money line. Tough spot for them. You know, they're on this emotional high. Then you go in and you get the best rated offense in football. So, I don't really have too much to say. I think it's a situation where it's just a bad situation to walk into.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Raiders will compete, but if you're going to give me for like about maybe 15 minutes, and then they're going to start getting their asses whooped, and that's no disrespect or knock to them, but I don't think they have the horses defensively to match up with this Miami team for 4 quarters. I mean, they might be able to present some issues if Max Crosby continues to play out of his fucking mind. Don't get it wrong. He's been probably the biggest game wrecker in football this year. He was first team All-Pro last year. He's a shoo-in this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not even a conversation. He's arguably the best D lineman in football right now.
Mm-hmm.
So tough situation. I like Jalen Waddle. I like Tyreek. Obviously, I'm going to veer towards the Miami offense to be successful in this one. You're going to give a master game planner and a Mike McDaniel an extra week to prepare for a defense that's played better. I'm not here to shit on the Raiders. The Raiders defense has performed much better over the last couple of weeks. However, this Miami offense presents challenges that I just simply do not think that they can match up with athlete for athlete, which is pretty much most of the NFL, if we're being honest. D-Mac, thoughts, spin. We'll get to you afterwards. So go ahead, D-Mac. Tell me your thoughts. Any plays you might like. I think I've already shared everything. It's a tough spot.
I mean, it's a difficult proposition for the Raiders to try and hold on here. Like you said, I mean, they'll compete early. They're playing very hard for Antonio Pierce. Their offense just isn't necessarily in a place to have any type of success to try and keep up with the Dolphins. I mean, they can run the ball a lot. The Dolphins are not particularly good against the rush. That does have to be said. Ultimately, that's only going to keep you in the game, but so long, I think the Dolphins will continue to put up a whole bunch of points on them. Specifically, the Raiders' run defense is also terrible. So, Mostert, obviously, Chain or Achane, because I always get that messed up. I forget which one it is.
Achane.
Thank you.
Achane.
So both of Achane coming back off that we expect.
What did J. Cole get from Jay-Z?
Oh, that's funny. Achane. So yes, he's coming off the IR. We'll see if he ends up playing, but both those guys I'd be playing if you have them because they should get plenty of work splits and they both can create incredibly explosive plays on the ground. Like you said, Waddle Hill should have a very good day. The one thing I'm looking for just to see, I mean, I think the Dolphins defense having their corners back, I want to see them have a truly dominant day, being able to hopefully slow down Josh Jacobs as much as they can, and obviously take advantage of the Raiders quarterback situation. So in my opinion, that'd be the thing for me. Can the Miami Dolphins defense show up to the level that it should, given that they're healthier now and playing a little bit better? So yeah, I think the Dolphins handle their business and roll down the slate, to say the least. Go ahead, Spin.
Yep. So this game is interesting. There's 45,900-ish or so bets been placed on this game on the spread. this line it's really interesting. I've seen this before in other sports too, is where the books set a line purposely that looks quote unquote too low because they want the public to hammer one side. That side in this game, if you believe that angle, that line is the Dolphins. Dolphins open at -10, 91% of the bets, 96% of the money, of again 45,958 total wagers placed are squarely on Miami, and this total has rocketed up. For an NFL total to shoot up 4 points in 2 days, that's a lot. 4 points in 3 days, that's still a lot, barring like an injury or like a Deshaun Watson situation, what have you. So I think if you're looking at where the value is on this game, you have to look for the Raiders. Here's the problem is they're, in my view, they're just not good enough. They're just not good enough to play 60 minutes of football and keep it in most circumstances within 2 touchdowns of the Dolphins. However, if you look at what the expected value is over time of betting home chalk, that's 14-point or more favorites, the only exception being the Patriots during their record-setting year when books couldn't set lines high enough, it actually has a negative EV. You actually lose money by doing that over the long term. That's why I'm not telling you to go bet the Raiders. I'm not telling you to even go touch the Raiders. What I'm saying is, from a spread perspective, you probably just want to leave this one alone. The one that I do want to look at, Eve, and I want to look towards either Achane or Raheem Mostert. A lot of the big books don't have it out yet, but their catches. And the reason why is that the Raiders have the 26th ranked DVOA, defensive DVOA against running backs. They also allow top 5 in running back catches and running back receptions / receiving yards. Now, you might think that would mean that I'm going to say start Achane and go ballistic with him. Here's the problem. The man is coming off a decently significant injury that was one step below, like putting him out for like a long time. And this is my problem with Achane when everybody asks me about how, like, is he the number 1 guy in a dynasty league because of the offense? I said, no, because he's like 160 pounds dripping wet. And if you go back and look at the longevity of running backs that are his size and getting the volume that you would expect from a running back 1, it's not very long. The only recent exception that I can think of is Alvin Kamara. However, Kamara weighs about 20 pounds more and has about 15 pounds more muscle than Achane does. Now, will Achane get there? Yeah, he probably could. But for a guy that's that small, that's coming off an injury like he is on a team that's going to the playoffs, don't be surprised if he only gets worked in for about 45 to 50% of the snaps. They're going to work him back slow because he is the future of this running game, of the passing game out of the backfield. I mean, he is custom built for a Mike McDaniel offense. However, it doesn't do him much good if he's sitting on the bench or in a cast or, God forbid, some kind of injury. So I think that Achane will be used, but he's not going to be used in the way that you think, where, like, if you're going back and you're getting all starry-eyed thinking about that Denver game, that's probably not what it's going to be, even despite the matchup, because I don't think he's going to get as many touches. Now, the other part with Achane, the other side of that with Achane is, with a guy like that, it only takes one. It only takes one carry, 1 catch. The man is so explosive, so athletic. So if you're using Achane for fantasy, I would use him as a running back 3/flex. I think if you have bye week or injury issues and you have to use him as a running back 2, you can. What I'm saying to that is just don't expect a ceiling game. For the rest of fantasy, Tyreek Hill, you're starting across every league. Jalen Waddle, you're starting across every league. Tua, you're probably starting across most leagues. Devontae Adams, even though it's been ugly, you probably have to start him, especially if you think that they're going to be behind. The only one that I want to kind of give out as a potential streamer, if you need help because the position is thin, look at tight end in this one. The Raiders are 27th in DVOA against tight ends, average 7.1 targets to tight ends and 50 yards per game. Now, might not seem like a ton, but it is in the bottom. They're in the bottom of the league for tight end scores allowed too. Where I go with this is if they're going to employ a defensive strategy to put some doubles and some brackets on Hill and Waddle, one of the beneficiaries for that could be Durham Smythe. Now, I wouldn't go out and pick up Durham Smythe and think that he's going to have a blow-up game, because that's not who he is. That's not what their offense is. But if you need a tight end, if you want to take a shot on a DFS tournament play, a Durham Smythe play could have a significant touchdown upside, and he's probably only going to be owned by about 4 to 5% of people in big tournaments.
All right. I love that. Love the Love the outside look with a Durham Smythe. We're going to move forward to the next matchup, which if you told me 3 weeks ago that this game was going on, I wouldn't give a fuck, to be totally honest with you, right? But Kyler Murray's returned. He looked explosive, to say the least, last week. Look back. Great to see him healthy. You could have all the Call of Duty jokes and all that other shit. We all know he's a special athlete. You know, some of the jokes get corny, though. It gets really fucking corny when it comes to him. The guy went 1 overall. We're fully aware of his physical attributes and his physical downfalls. And he's 5'5" or whatever y'all say, however tall y'all say he is. But nonetheless, he still possesses great physical talents that God has blessed him with. They were on Showcase last week, came back immediately, and they got the dub. Taking on CJ Stroud, who just walked into Cincinnati and bitch slapped the Bengals for the money with a guy named Noah Brown and no Nico Collins. I don't think people understand how impressive that was, but again, it's not getting, to me, it's not getting the attention it deserves. I know people are speaking on it, but that's fucking insane. You go into Cincinnati without your number 1 receiver and beat them straight up, not cover a spread, beat them, just win the game. Shout out to CJ Stroud. But in this matchup, obviously, CJ Stroud has claimed Offensive Rookie of the Year 11 weeks in. I think that conversation is done with, in my opinion. He's the Offensive Rookie of the Year. I don't think there's anything to talk about there. Texans laying 6. Who the fuck would have thought that the Texans would be laying 6 against anyone this year at all? I didn't. That was never on my bingo card at any juncture. Defense still not playing great, but the offense looking phenomenal. Obviously led by CJ Stroud. The Cardinals obviously coming back. Listen, I told you guys about this kid, Michael Wilson, at the beginning of the year. I think he's going to be a damn good NFL player. I saw him at the Senior Bowl and was just, again, I could see it. You can see the talent. It's just health. Can he stay healthy? His whole college career at Stanford just simply couldn't get it right from a health standpoint. Love the kid. Marquise Brown obviously back with his college quarterback and teammate. They have the synergy. Unfortunate, Zach Ertz got placed on IR. I thought that Zach Ertz would have a pretty good role, even though McBride seemed to have been stepping up a little bit more as of recent weeks. Nonetheless, Arizona, I still think, is in a top pick Olympics. I don't think it's a situation where they're going to be able to move Kyler Murray. I don't know about interest outside of the building in Arizona. And 2, it's a large contract. Some teams are not going to trust that amount of money with a player who is coming off an injury and relies so much on raw athleticism, unless they're willing to take a discount to just get the contract off the books, which I don't see to be the case unless a team is desperate at the quarterback position. So we shall see. In this game, though, I am 100% rocking with the Texans. I think the Texans win. 6 points, a lot of points. The 1 o'clock start. Obviously, the Cardinals aren't going all the way East Coast. This is Central Time. I'm inclined to roll with CJ Stroud's yards. Probably Nico Collins as well. I think Nico Collins will perform well on this one. He's going to give it a go for sure. Wouldn't be against Tank Dell. Wouldn't be against Connor. I know people are probably a little scared. Connor, when healthy, has been a fantasy mainstay over the last 2 years. No matter who plays quarterback, no matter who's in the building on that side of the ball, he's been really good. So that would be who I would target here. I think the game goes over as well. The number's at 48.5. I think Kyler and CJ shoot it out on a Sunday evening. That's my expectation for this one. I think both offenses can get off. I think both defenses can be had. I love DeMeco Ryans, but he requires a little bit more talent in the building. Thank God for drafting CJ Stroud, though, because the offense is carrying. Spin, and we're going to be Mac.
Yep. I mean, what else can you say about CJ Stroud at this point? I mean, the man is just incredible. And you know,
loving this, by the way. DMAC is fucking loving this discourse, by the way.
Oh,
he's loving it. He's fucking loving it.
Well, hey, I have him in my biggest money dynasty salary cap league for 4 years for $4 out of a $200 cap. So I am loving it. I am set. I've had a few people approach me and be like, so what would you want for Stroud? And I just looked at him and I responded, I said, we don't talk like that here this season. Like, he's like, oh, you're not trading him. I'm like, not unless you want to give me like a bunch of real money to pay. like, no, he's going nowhere. So anyways, CJ Stroud, incredible. I have to wonder, even though it's very early and premature, are the Panthers going to go back and see that this was their Peyton Manning, Ryan Leaf for moment? No, you don't think so? You don't think so?
No.
You think Bryce is going to be good?
I know Bryce is going to be good.
Okay.
There's no doubts in my mind. The thing is that it's very difficult to have any sort of conversation because this motherfucker CJ Stroud looks like an alien. He looks
because
like
he looks. Yeah, that's fair.
I've never seen this. Like
Yep.
Have you? I've never seen this shit.
Nope.
Have you?
Nope.
Even with we've all seen Andrew Luck. Even Andrew Luck wasn't fucking doing this, bro. Like, let's be honest. We've never seen this.
Yep, that's true.
I don't even know what to make of it right now. It's like, because if you actually watch the tape on Bryce, he's not as bad as people think. It's not as bad as it looks. There's no separation. The run game's been average. The offensive line's been bad, and he's had his moments where he's been bad, but he's also made a lot of throws that have been good too. So again, but it's nothing compared to CJ. This motherfucker right now is just
But the one that I'm really targeting in this one is Devin Singletary. Dameon Pierce already ruled out. Devin Singletary had almost 150 yards last week. He now gets a Arizona run defense that has just been absolutely torched all season, 31st in DVOA. And the offensive line grades per PFF. This is normally for a running back that's going to have a good day or has a potential to have a good day. You see a gap of meaning the strength of the O-line versus the D-line. You see a gap normally in the 8 to 10% range. Houston's advantage on Arizona at coming into this game is 22%, which is one of the highest that I've seen all year per PFF. I would not be surprised if Devin Singletary gets a touchdown. I actually really wouldn't shock me if he gets two. It all depends on how they want to call plays because there will definitely be points in this game. I think that Houston's team total over makes a ton of sense. The full game over, you can go too. Totally agree with Sosa on the potential for a shootout. But Arizona, where you can really attack them is at the line. And so with how well Singletary rushed and with how quickly this week Dameon Pierce was ruled out, I think that they have had it in their minds all week that Singletary is going to get a heavy workload. So I think that he's startable in all fantasy leagues as at least a flex. You can possibly use him in some cases as a running back too. So as far as the rest of the guys for fantasy, look, I mean, if you have CJ Stroud, I don't care who your other quarterback is, except for maybe like a Jalen Hurts. For fantasy purposes, again, not real NFL, for fantasy purposes, there's really no one that can touch this guy right now. So you're starting Stroud, you're starting Tank Dell, you are starting all the guys that you normally would. If you have Kyler at quarterback, I think that Kyler is very usable in this situation. Some of his home road splits over the course of his career, especially outside of the division, have been a little meh, but he did average 7.8 yards per attempt last week, look close to 100% as far as his mobility, his rushing. So, and the Texans do rank 26th in points allowed to quarterback. So I think you can very easily use Kyler as well. I would totally agree with the James Conner look. So, I mean, all the guys that you're normally going to use you're using them now. And I just have to say one more time, Sosa, who was it that said in our VIP over the summer, you got to go get Nico Collins because this kid's going to be a stud? Who was that?
You did.
That was me. I said in July, you have to go get Nico Collins because Stroud was his number one target in all OTAs, all mini camps, and throughout training camp. A rookie quarterback needs that safety blanket. Stroud has it.
It's just tough to believe that an Ohio State quarterback and a Michigan receiver can make it work like that. That's all I'm saying.
I know. Isn't it crazy how they come together?
Like, who knew they'd hit it off like this? I know.
It was a match made in heaven. Who would have known?
Apparently, who would have thought?
Who would have thought it? Look, man, I'm very excited for this game. I'm happy to see Kyler Murray back healthy. I think that he is actually a good quarterback, despite how much slander he's received over the last 12 months. Me personally, I think that he, like you mentioned, obviously Michael Wilson, I want to see them two kind of get on the same page because I think that him coming out of Stanford was one of those more underrated wide receiver prospects. So I want to see him continue to move on. Trey McBride, like if you've had tight end injuries or it's been the tight end position that normally is, I mean, he's being godsend for some people as well. He's going to continue to get some targets. And he was making some spectacular catches last week as well, it must be said. So yeah, we'll see if him and Hollywood Brown also can get on the same page. So I think this game has a little bit of sneaky shootout potential. I think that CJ Stroud's going to continue to be excellent. And just keep on. I mean, he's already locked up the Rookie of the Year at this point. And he's trying to make that AFC South a real challenge as far as between them and the Jaguars. And we'll see if they can keep it rolling. I do think the Texans ultimately do win this game. They've just been more solid overall as well. I think their defense is better. Will Anderson has been overshadowed by the CJ Stroud stuff for how great he has actually been as well as an edge rusher. Both of those guys have been the franchise cornerstones that they were drafted to be in their rookie years. And you got to give them credit for that. The thing I will say for fantasy is the most interesting part of it. It does look like we're going to get Tank Dell, Nico Collins, Robert Woods, and Noah Brown all active. How those targets get divvied up, how those snap counts get divvied up is going to be very interesting moving forward for the second half of this year, of which one of those wide receivers you want to be targeting, because we've seen all those guys have very good games. I think that Tank and Nico are going to stay as the main two. Does Noah Brown or Robert Woods or get enough work to still be fantasy relevant will be the question I'll be looking out for. And this is obviously a very easy test as far as the Cardinals defense is concerned. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this game. I think it's going to be sneakily very entertaining as well. So yeah.
Absolutely, man. And we're going to go from that game straight to the best game of the week. Everybody and their mother knows it. It's the rematch of the last Super Bowl that we just had in February. It's going to be Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles headed to Arrowhead to take on the Kansas City Chiefs, led by number 15, Patrick Mahomes. I have referred to him as Michael Jordan. I have referred to the guy as a race car driver because of his voice. They got Taylor Swift's boyfriend out there. We got Jalen Hurts. We got Swole Batman. We got Skinny Batman. The most overrated tight end in football is not going to play. He's hurt. Eagles offensive line. Kansas City's defense, which has been 10 times better than their offense this year, but nobody gives a fuck because they got 15 and Taylor Swift's boyfriend. Trent McDuffie, who I don't know why nobody talks about him ever. I never hear his name on TV ever. And then you look at the tape and he's killing everything. Karlaftis, super sneaky athlete to go alongside Chris Jones. And, just again, we get two of the best teams in football. One's 8-1, the other's 7-2. I'm going to tell y'all straight up, I'm cheering for the Chiefs in this one. I need the Eagles to not get home field. I think it's going to be a wildly entertaining game. An over-under set at 45.5. You already know what I'm doing with that. I'm betting the over. I'm setting it, forgetting it, and hoping that we continue to get, entertaining football games where nobody gets injured. I think that's the biggest issue in the NFL right now is that we've lost a lot of stars to injury. We're going to finally get to see two stars go at it. Hopefully it doesn't end the way Thursday night's game did.
God, I'm praying it doesn't.
That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. Every time I now watch a football game that's featuring the elite superstars in the NFL, I pray for their health. I pray for them to just simply make it through the game, because without them, it gets exceedingly more difficult to watch the product being given to us by the NFL. Without those guys, when you take the superstars out of the game in any capacity, it makes it very difficult to watch because it gives the other teams direct competitive advantages. So I know this is your team, D-Mac. Give us your full breakdown, what you like, what you don't like. I know Spin's got probably 10 plays that he could probably recommend for this one. I'm going to give you the reins on this one. Obviously, you guys laying 2.5 at the crib. Monday Night Football, coming off a bye, both teams off a bye. About as dream a matchup as you can get in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
So
like you said, both teams number one in their conference, both teams coming off the bye week, having some time to healthy and rest up. Obviously, the Eagles are going to be missing Dallas Goedert and Kobe Dean. We'll be missing Nick Bolton. But ultimately, the main players are here. They're going to be making a difference as well. From our perspective, I think our defense obviously has been excellent. It's been the best side of the ball that we've had. and they've continued to lead the way. You mentioned obviously Trent McDuffie. L'Jarius Sneed's been excellent as far as being able to be physical with a lot of wide receivers, setting that tone. He's obviously gotten those penalties, but I prefer him actually dictating to the offense compared to just trying to sit back and react accordingly. Chris Jones obviously has been excellent, been double teamed. This is an excellent Eagles offensive line that we are facing. And so similar to the ways in which we had to earn the right to rush the passer versus the Dolphins by being able to stop the run and create those negative plays, we have to do the same here versus the Eagles. And it's an even more difficult challenge. It's a little bit of a different challenge. Obviously, the Dolphins like to get out to the edge a little bit more, and I think that fit a little bit better of what we were more comfortable stopping as far as run-wise because of how good of our linebacker play has been. However, they're going to come straight downhill at you. You're going to have to be stout up the middle. So this has to be a big Derek Nottie game. Obviously, Chris Jones has continued to be good. Drew Tranquil taking over that Mike linebacker position occasionally got washed out by some of the Miami Dolphin run scheme. He has to be a little bit better physically inside the tackles. Obviously, Willie Gay being healthy again is going to be important. So again, earn the right to rush the passer first and foremost. And then when you actually get to those downs, Jalen Hurts generally has been worse against the blitz than he was last year, and he has been worse generally than when he's not blitzed. So putting that pressure on him, trying to heat him up versus that Eagles offensive line, trying to find those gaps, obviously using Chris Jones double team that will be coming to him for your defensive advantage and knowing how to take advantage of those accordingly. That needs to happen on a consistent basis. L'Jarius Sneed's going to have to be physical with A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith is probably going to be matched up with Trent McDuffie more often than not. Both of those guys are excellent at the catch point. They have to be able to win throughout the entirety of the route and stick with these guys. And then also try and turn that timing off and force Jalen Hurts to go elsewhere to some of these secondary playmakers, whether it's Zacchaeus or Watkins or one of the running backs out of the backfield. So yeah, that's my ultimate goal as far as defense is concerned. Offense, Andy Reid coming off of a bye week. They've had time to practice on this. There are no more excuses. This offense needs to get into gear. These wide receivers need to continue to step up, and they need to support what Travis Kelce can bring to the table. The Eagles don't defend tight ends well, but I expect them to play. They're around 52% as far as man coverage snaps are concerned. I expect them to have a lot of man coverage snaps where they challenge these wide receivers, and they're doubling Kelce on a lot of these routes, especially on money downs. These wide receivers have got to get off of man coverage against a corner set that obviously Slay and Bradbury had a very good year last year. Not necessarily replicating it, but they're still able to, get some things done as far as that is concerned. So a little bit more, look, it's going to be difficult to run the ball. The Eagles generally make a lot of teams one-sided. This is not something that we shy away from here in Kansas City with 15. But again, if you're going to go that route, which we most likely will have to, that means that these wide receivers have got to step up. And like I said, there's no more excuses. This Eagles secondary can be had. I want to see some of these guys. The explosives don't necessarily need to be there. It'd be nice to have them, but just on a consistent basis, being able to move the ball and then finish in the red zone is the most important key to me. So those are my keys. The wide receivers stepping up and obviously earning the right to rush the passer versus an excellent Eagles rush defense. Because look, if you allow them to get to 3rd and 1, you got them to get to 4th and short. You know what's about to happen, and that's just going to be a conversion. That's the reality of the situation. So you got to earn your right and get them into bad situations.
Y'all can't stop the brotherly shove, tush,
No.
push, whatever you call that bullshit.
No, can't do that. Can't.
No.
But we can. We could try and do the Bills thing and just have an extra man on the field. Like maybe that'll help a little bit. But
yeah. I don't want to call it cheating because it'll make me look like a bitch. So.
But yeah, man. Look,
but that's what it is. When people complain about that shit, it makes you look like such a bitch. Like it makes them look so soft. Like
that's why I don't complain about it because look, if you're a defense, you have got to keep them out of those situations. That is the simple fact. Do not allow them to get to those advantageous situations, and therefore it doesn't come into play. You got to be better.
Don't let them get to the 1 yard line, buddy. Don't let them get the 4th and 1 like you fucking said. Don't let it happen.
And it's the same.
4th and 4, cool. But you got to strap up on them early downs against these guys. That's what it is. You saw the Jets. Yep. The Jets shows you how to do it. Mm-hmm. And why I have to and not to cut you off or anything, Spin, but like, do people realize that the Jets beat them without their 2 starting corners?
Yeah.
Why does no one talk about that?
Because their front 7 played out of their minds.
That's fucking insane. Like they won that game. They won a game with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert on the other side without their starting corners. I look back on that as probably the most impressive win of the year. That is insane.
From a defensive perspective, and it's a credit to what their system runs and how that front seven played, because they were able to put them into negative situations and then allow their coverage to play according to what their coverage rules are. And it's not like the Eagles are doing anything special from the standpoint of it's not incredible concepts, it's not incredibly complicated. They're lining up. They're either going to run at you or they're going to throw the ball over your head.
They just, and you're absolutely right, because on certain plays they just have an athletic advantage on certain plays, it's exactly what it is. They're going to play straight up football. It's cut and dry. It's not a lot of smoke and mirrors, like you said. It's there. Can you stop it? So.
Yep. And it's funny. No, I was gonna say it resurfaced this week because we had a little Chiefs Kingdom thing where we talked about the wide receiver coach and him not necessarily having a great pressure and things, and people were like, "Oh, well, Nick Sirianni didn't have a great presser," but everybody was like, "Yeah, I mean, he stumbled over his words, but he said the same thing. He was like, we're gonna have a simple system, and we're gonna have our players understand the system, and then we're gonna play very well in the system and allow our talent to take over." And that's exactly what they've done the entire time.
I'm not gonna lie to you though. I'm not gonna lie to you. When I heard your wide receiver coach in the presser, it sounded like he went to the Derrick Rose School of Media Training. It was pretty fucking bad. It was terrible. It was terrible.
It was not good at
all.
I'm
sorry. I'm like, no way, this dude's serious. Like, this is the coach. Like, no way. But hey, listen, it was nothing but coach speak the entire time. Next man up. He used about 30 different cliches. It was terrible. So I was like, no way. Is this guy serious?
It was a Mad Libs of coach speak. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
it was nothing. It's literally like, you know how Drake drops 6 new songs and the Goofies love it because it's a bunch of Instagram captions? The same shit. It's the same shit that he did. He just literally said, he looked at a video of 10 quotes that coaches say all the time, copied and pasted them, memorized them, and gave them one by one to the media. I was like, this guy's real right now. Like, what the fuck?
So here's my question then for a coach's report, which kind of is like a halftime report. Would you rather have one of those that's boring as shit, or would you rather have whatever Carissa Thompson makes up? Because that seems like it'd be more interesting.
That's fair. That's fair. At least accuracy, we probably would.
Yeah, accuracy, yes, but her sideline reports were at least interesting. It wasn't just word salad.
The joke over the joke of the last week of whatever being reported, somebody was like, "Yeah, you know, Joe Burrow might have to have his hand amputated per Carissa Thompson."
Yeah, I posted that on the Discord. I'm like,
last week.
Yeah. I posted that she reported that Joe Burrow had his arm amputated, and they're going to teach him how to throw left-handed now. Yep.
I saw somebody was talking about like him having like a catheter in his arm or some shit like that, and that being the reason why he got a sprained wrist. And I'm like,
oh,
did you forget to put your helmet on again, bro? Like, that's like when I heard that, I'm like, no way, you were serious. Like, you really said that. But anyway.
And look, we are to be clear, we are not making light of Joe Burrow because
absolutely.
No, I love Joe Burrow.
Yeah,
I love the guy.
You know, I have to do this because otherwise I have to. We are not
having injuries, man.
I have to do this because apparently, you know, I have to do this.
You think it's funny?
It's a very unfortunate situation. But the Carissa Thompson tweets are golden, and her statement was bullshit. Sorry, go ahead, Spin. Let's talk about the game of the week still.
Yeah, that's okay. That's all right. So yeah, I'm gonna skip all the Swift and Kelsey hoopla because their parents are meeting and all that. Like that side shit can go on. That's fine. Good for them.
Who the fuck is Travis Kelce? I don't even call him that anymore.
Yeah, let's talk about the game here. Everything starts up front. When you compare offensive line and defensive lines, Philly metrically, according to PFF, has a 56% run advantage. That's a pretty significant one. So I understand what DMAC is saying, because if you can't get any pressure up front, if you can't stop the run up front, then you got to bring more guys up, and that will leave you susceptible to the play action and QB rollouts and so on and so forth. So, you know, are the Chiefs front four ready to handle the Eagles front four? And if they are, then I personally can see the Chiefs covering this game by 4 to 5. If they can't, And it's probably going to be a very, very long night for them because, looking at some of the matchups for wide receivers and corners as well, not a lot of exploitable matchups with the exception of tight end, because with Travis Kelce, you can always take advantage of that matchup. But you go and look, and if you're comparing player grades, probably the person with the best overall advantage would be Rashee Rice. He's projected to line up 14 or more snaps against Eli Ricks, significant advantage in that area in the slot. So I would look at his catches, his yards, and the other one that I would look for to potentially get a few catches at least, or maybe even one long one, would be Justin Watson. He has a significant advantage over where he'll be lining up as well. As far as fantasy goes, I mean, if I have to tell you who to start from the Chiefs and from the Eagles, then you probably haven't been playing fantasy for very long, especially by this point. I mean, Hurts, Mahomes, AJ Brown, blah, 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 blah. You're starting every single one of them. I would start Rashee Rice if you have him because of what I mentioned, unless you have a very, very capable backup. And, while on paper, I don't know if this matchup looks the best for Mahomes fantasy-wise. If you got him, he's probably your only quarterback, or your other option is not as good. So I think you got to roll with him as well. As far as the game goes, yeah, I'm with the Chiefs, mostly just because I'm just not a fan of anything Philadelphia Eagles. So, but if I had to pick a team to win, I'm going to pick the Chiefs here. Also because of the home field, but I am probably going to focus a lot more on player props for this game than I am the side or the total, because they're very even in match games.
I need a score, brother. What's the score? What's your score in the game?
I'll say mine. I have it. At first, I wanted to go a little bit on the higher end, but I was like, no, I think I like the defensive matchup a little bit more than I thought. So I've got it 24-23 Chiefs.
Spin.
I know. I think that's still over the over.
26. Yeah. 26-22 Chiefs.
Okay. I'm gonna go 33, 27, 31, 33, 31 Chiefs. I think it's going to be the same sort of situation where Philly be out of timeouts. Whoever has the ball last. Because listen, I know that Kansas City's defense has been extremely effective this year, but I also believe that as this game goes on, these defenses will get tired, and we'll see these offenses come up with some really big plays in the back half of the game. I think that the personnel has not changed that much between both teams, and we just got one of the highest scoring Super Bowls ever. I don't see too much changing outside of maybe there might be more points because the footing might be fucking better. I can't see it. I don't see a scenario in which we don't get points this week. I just don't. Unless the weather's bad in Kansas. You get any weather issues in Kansas City that we should know about?
It's supposed to rain in the morning, but other than that, it should be fine by game time. So
right. So barring that, I expect an offensive game, a lot of single game parlay opportunities. I mean, I think again, the NFL wants entertainment. I think we get points. I just don't see a scenario in which we don't. And I'm also going to bet the third quarter over before the game.
All right.
Because it's only going to go higher. So let's lock that bet in right now.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to lock it in for the people. It right now. The third quarter over is at probably 10.5, 9.5. It'll be 10.5 during the game. Lock it in now. Touchdown and a field goal gets us there. Andy Reid and Mahomes are going to get us a touchdown. Whether it's a tush push or a field goal, we won't get that over 9.5. So lock it in now. Monday night, it's not going to be 10.5. I promise you that. It'll be 11.5. It'll be a number that's higher than 10.5 to fuck with you. So get it now. Get the 10 points. You get the 2 scripted drives, guaranteed to get you points. I promise you. Fuck with me. Spin. Anything else you want to give to the people or D-Mac?
Nope, I'm good.
I think we're all good to get on out of here, man.
49ers at playing the Bucks.
Oh yeah, you guys.
I don't really have too much to say. The reality of Baker Mayfield being your starting quarterback is coming to fruition. I don't want to rub it in. We're going to fuck him up. You already know this. I know this. We know this. I don't want to be a jerk because you obviously you're a great friend and you're my business partner. I don't want to get into any of the. I feel for you guys because they forgot what was going on, what we had going on, and then we went to Jacksonville and beat the dog shit out of the Jaguars. Now everybody wants to shaboing boing over. Keep the energy where it was. Keep it where it was. Brock Purdy sucks. The defense is overrated. Steve Wilkes should be fired. Keep it there. Keep it there. You know what I'm saying? I think Mike Evans and Godwin probably perform well. I don't know which receiver you're going to go with, but again, my defense is back. And when my defense is playing the way it played last week, we're the best team in football. And I stand on that.
Chase Young's making an immediate impact. So I said it last week. I expected you guys to go down Jacksonville and pretty handily take care of them. And it's not because I think that Jacksonville is that bad of a team. I think that you guys are going to come out of the bye week and put it on a team. So I expect you guys to keep it rolling. I never took you guys out of title contention personally. I know other people were trying to, do that. I was like, y'all, it's not going to happen. They're too good of a team on both sides of the ball. But yeah, that's my general thoughts. I think you guys win the game, but Spin, I know you probably have a little bit more thoughts to give it to you.
No, I mean, my thoughts on this game are simple. Is that this is obviously a tough one for us. Defensively, I'm not as concerned. Not with us like shutting the Niners down. That's not going to happen. But I'm more talking about making enough stops here and there to put us in a position to be competitive for a while. The problem is that I don't think that the offense will follow suit. So I have this game as right around 27-17. I do have it as being 27-10, and then Bucks getting a garbage touchdown to do a backdoor cover. That's how I read this game. I hope I'm pleasantly surprised and I'm wrong, but with the pressure that the Niners defense puts on and with just how aggressive they play in general, those are the kind of defenses that just give Baker Mayfield fits. He's a lot better when teams sit back in zone and he can roll out, scan the field. When he's under pressure, even though I do like what he's brought to our team this year, I think he's the perfect one-year bridge quarterback from the Brady years to when the $75 million in dead cap from the Brady years rolls off, which would be next year. For those that don't know watching, the Bucks to sign Brady and friends during our run, they signed a bunch of the veterans to what are called void years, which basically stretches your bonus out further so you take a lesser cap hit. The problem is when that player leaves the team or retires, as most all of them did, then those cap hits become due immediately. So we decided to take it all this year and take our lump. So we have the highest dead cap in the league. That we have $70 million in dead cap rolling off next year that we'll have to spend. Baker is the perfect bridge quarterback for a team in the situation that we're in because we're not making no long-term investment. We're making no long-term commitment. We can see what we have and then move on easily after this season. So, but under pressure is when Baker Mayfield is at his worst. It's when he makes his worst decisions. So I would not be surprised if the Niners D either scores a touchdown or comes awful close off of a pick.
Ben, put your hand in. Drake May on 3.
Yeah, I know, right?
Drake on 3. Come on.
You guys
go ahead.
Drake May on 3. Let's go. Let's go.
Hey, I don't know what direction we're going to go for quarterback. Knowing the Bucks, I think that they'll go one of two polar opposites. Is one, they will sell out to try to get a draft pick to develop a rookie, or number two is we'll go after like Kirk Cousins and just basically back up a Brinks truck to him and be like, here you go. That has always been Jason Light's thing during his time here. It's how he got Brady. Is people were telling him he'll never come to Tampa. He'll never come to Tampa, and he's like, I got to give it a shot. I got to try. And there you go. He's never been afraid to swing for the fences. So one way or another, that's what I think we'll do on quarterback. But he's smart enough this year to know with $77 million in dead cap and holes everywhere from the Super Bowl run that we made, you're not going to fill it all in 1 year. So this is the cost of being relevant with Brady and friends for 3 years. So we'll take our lumps this year, and I'm sure we'll take our lumps tomorrow.
Absolutely. And that'll do it for this week's episode. Another episode of Sunday Morning Quarterbacks in the books. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, X, if you want to call it X now. We got an Instagram page and we got a TikTok that we don't really use like that, but soon enough. Well, it's something that it's a multi-channel approach, but right now Twitter and YouTube seem to be working out pretty well. Again, I appreciate you guys. Let's continue to go up and win, and let's keep killing the books. Again, let's win the day via Sunday morning quarterbacks. And as always, have a wonderful Sunday. Peace.
Peace out. Enjoy the games, man.